Going to call the meeting to order, 48 seconds late. And I'd like to begin the meeting as we customarily do with a moment of silence. If everyone can stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Kilgore,
Present.
Commissioner Knight,
President.
Commissioner Robbins,
Present.
Commissioner Belcheck,
Here.
Commissioner Perdue,
Good evening.
Commissioner Asasi,
Present.
and Mayor LeGrand.
Yep. Now is the moment for public comment, specifically on agenda items. So reminder to everyone that there will be an opportunity for general public comment at the end of the meeting. But if anyone has public comment on agenda items, they're welcome to come on up. And I'm sorry, should have announced, we do have a translator in the audience, and if he or she could come up and briefly say that I just said that there was a translator into the microphone, that'd be great.
Hello, vamos a tener servicio de intérpretes para cualquier persona que necesite interpretación en español. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
How y'all doing? I'm D. Jones. I'm here to speak on item 8 on Community Development Committee. I am a passionate entrepreneur and visionary. I am also somebody who plays soccer, and I'm just here to speak about the soccer stadium. This is going to be a large investment. I'm also on the board of my neighborhood organization. We oversee this. I was there for community engagement. I'm just going to say that I hope that we can be able to utilize this stadium for the best of the community and the good of the community. I don't know if they have a community benefits agreement yet or anything signed, but I like that because this is a lot of public funding, our taxes that is going to these billionaires that are going to utilize this facility and just get richer and richer, while some of our communities get poorer and poorer and potentially no opportunities from this facility. So I'm asking our city government, and I'll be advocating for a community benefits agreement if there's still a possibility to do that. And also I've said that we need to do esports competitions here. There's a possibility to do that. I know that they said that there's going to be power outlets on the field and other places in the stadium that they can actually utilize. So they actually have something called FIFA E. FIFA is a huge game. It's a big thing. As people looked at the Super Bowl, the World Cup actually has 1.2 billion people that look at it. So I know that soccer is a huge thing globally, but esports and gaming is a huge thing, especially with the soccer community and the communities all across the globe that love soccer. So I would like to utilize this to do some esports competitions, which they already know. The Grand Action 2.0, I said that we need to do some esports competitions besides having some nice soccer games that's going on. And I'd like them to actually invest into the community, give back to the community, because a lot of funding is going to be going back to the DeVosses and the Van Andels. And I'm just concerned about my community not truly getting any benefit from this, besides them potentially utilizing it. If we could put people from the local community whose taxes went to actually build the stadium, if we can get it at a good discount to utilize it to benefit and potentially bring some economic investment here and the economic impact ourselves. I believe there are visionaries across the community from different communities and different ethnicities that could use this soccer stadium for different things, camps, summer programs. Today I just found out I'm going to be going to Hong Kong on my birthday, which is July 10th. I already said this, but the dates are finally final, and I'm going to be doing basketball and esports camps in Hong Kong with NBA coaches. So I would really love, to the best of the ability that the billionaires in our community that can provide, that we have the best of the best opportunities for our community, because our taxes have actually been utilized to build this facility. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Commissioners. Staff.
law enforcement. My name is Daniel Scott, longtime resident of the city. My real identity is I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. And this is for you, Commissioner Sassi. I'm here to address the fiscal situation. Last time you interrupted me and stole 30 of my seconds. I'm here to advocate for the people that continue to suffer from these water main breaks. I don't live on the southeast side, but why can't we spend some of this money you're advocating?
Point of order, Mayor. Which item number are you speaking to, Ms. Schutt?
Just the fiscal. I forget what it is. I don't have it in front of me.
Do we have a pamphlet for you? Would
Yeah.
you like mine? I'll come over to you.
Thank you. Letter C. Just the fiscal situation as a whole. Is that good enough or not?
No.
Okay. Well, then I'll just go to resolution number 1. I'm sorry, I lost my
Okay.
place.
That's resurfacing of Plainfield Avenue
I'm sorry.
between
Let me go to-
I-96 and Airway Drive.
I'll go to section
So-
E, resolution 1.
I'm sorry, this is,
Approving a development district liquor license for Ramon. Is that okay?
sure.
Okay. As I've advocated here before, I'm against you licensing any more places for alcohol consumption. I've been in New York City for almost 50 years, in Hartside, and I see the results of alcohol all the time. Not everyone ends up in Hartside, but many do. And it's a gateway substance to further substance abuse, and we have a lot of problems in our city already. So I'm against that. Scripture says if you give your neighbor a drink, meaning alcohol, he's not happy with that. And he will hold you accountable for that. So I would encourage you not to give these people a license. Thank you.
Seeing no further comment on agenda items, we will move to approval of the minutes. I can have a motion to approve the minutes of last meeting.
So moved.
Support?
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Moving along to petitions and communications to the city. First item is communication from Ricardo Bienvenides. I'm sorry, this is your job.
Yeah, thank you. It's well, you probably pronounce that better than I'm going to. Communication received from Ricardo Benavides regarding his resignation from the Community Relations Commission.
That's referred to committee on appointments.
A communication received from R. Pressure regarding the city comptroller.
Received and filed.
Communication received from Scott Atchison explaining the history of the Downtown Development Authority Downtown Improvement District in Downtown Grand Rapids Incorporated.
Received and filed.
And a communication received from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression regarding public comment policies.
Received and filed. This brings us to reports of city
The
officers.
first one is the comptroller's warrant report for the period of January 28, 2025 through February 10, 2025 in the amount of $30,895,595.94. And it's not the monthly travel report. He said that in the fiscal this morning, that'll be at the next meeting.
Received and filed.
And then the treasurer's report for the period of January 28, 2025 through February 11, 2025.
Received and filed. And that brings us to the consent agenda. These are items that have been passed by unanimous, passed out of committee unanimously. And the Those are they're detailed in the minutes, so if any of you want to see those on the agenda, you're welcome to look at those. And as a reminder, anything can come off consent agenda if a commissioner wants to have further public discussion at this point. But I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to support or to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries, which brings us to, there being no items removed from consent this week. Commissioner Robbins, if you could introduce for us,
Let me read it first. Ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2024-2023 for fiscal year 2025, Amendment Number 7.
So moved. Support.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. This is an item that came before us at our fiscal committee this morning. It's an ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2024-23 for fiscal year 2025. It's Amendment Number 7. There are, I believe it was 13. Excuse me, there's 12 different items that came as part of this amendment. There's a Parks and Recreation Department Nature Everywhere Seed Grant, Police Department Forensics Data Extraction License Renewal. There is Parks and Rec's Department Right Place RAP 2.0 grant for Canal Park. Also for Parks and Rec Department, Grand Rapids Children's Fund. Item number 5 is 61st District Court. It's a National Criminal History Improvement Program grant. Number 6 for our Public Library, it's an asset management request. Item number 7 for our Engineering Department for facilities and equipment at the Fire Training Center. Number 8, Engineering Department as well. It's a refrigeration system improvement for Belknap Park, Griff's Ice House. Item number 9 for our Engineering Department, Vital Streets, allocation of additional state funding. Number 10, Fiscal Services Department. It's an extension of our cloud services contract with CGI Incorporated. Number 11 for our Police Department. It's an equipment purchase from federal forfeitures. And then lastly, number 12 for our Engineering Department for our Butterworth landfill solar array. And then I'll also note that for our contingent balance, we are still at the full $1.5 million that was appropriated.
Thank you. City Clerk, if you could call, we got a motion and support, correct? Ask for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sassi,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Belcheck,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgore,
Yes.
Mayor LaGrand.
Yes. That being passed unanimously, I note that it will take immediate effect. And, pardon?
Need a motion for a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion for it to take immediate effect.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion for immediate effect, support. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Great. And finally, this moves us on to our public hearing phase of tonight's meeting. In interest of economizing, Ms. Renero will be coming up and introducing this project for public hearing, but we have technically two different public hearings, but they're both referring to the same project, and that's 1032 Martin Luther King Jr. Street. And so, Ms. Renero.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I just want to also acknowledge Peter Scornia with Sella Development in the audience, as well as the applicant, Laura Chivas-Scott. This is a project, exciting project on MLK between Fuller and Eastern, rehabilitation of a functionally obsolete property into residential, 5 residential spaces and retail. We've got 4 one-bedroom and 1 two-bedroom, and I've attempted to incorporate our AMIs on the resolution, so it looked a little glitchy on one of the columns there, so we'll figure out those tweaks and make sure that's right the next time. This is anticipated to have construction costs of $794,000, exceptional inclusion plan aspirational goal of 41% for micro-local WBEs and minority business owners. And what's before you is, yes, an exemption certificate for 12 years. This is above and beyond the base. And so I just want to call some attention to the investment criteria, hitting really an increased housing supply with this project, as well as sustainable development through an environmental certification being Energy Star certification. And then finally, I wanted to call some attention to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board taking this project in December for an emerging developer grant. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I also wanted to give Ms. Scott the floor to talk a little bit about the project and the importance to her.
I just want to say I want to thank the emerging developers for giving us a grant to get it, the engineers submitting the structures and drafting. My husband was working on this since 2017. He unfortunately died of COVID when he was working on it. We also had a ice cream shop across the street, and unfortunately, we weren't able to finish this building. But because of commissioners and different inputs from the city, I've been able to secure money to kind of get it going. And so far, it looks very positive, like things should be going. We're going to have the work units, they're going to be storefronts, or you can live in a unit and have a storefront. That'll be an option. And then it's upstairs units, and it's going to be affordable parking, stuff like that, you know. So I'm just glad to be working with Cello. Peter, he's been helping me. You know, we're trying to figure out all the little, we have meetings on a bi-weekly basis and work with banks and stuff to secure loans. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this project?
Are we public?
Yep.
Okay. Was Earl your husband?
Yeah.
My condolences.
No problem.
As Mark comes up, I'll just say I'm so excited for this project. We met, I can't see you behind the screen, but we met, I think, last fall, I think. I don't think it was it wasn't quite winter yet, and I'm just so proud of how far this project has come and that it's going through. And just thank you, Peter, for all your support of Laura and others as we really try to support folks who own property in the Third Ward and really throughout the city, getting them to develop their the resources and support they need to develop their property and activate those spaces. And so it's empty right now, and I grew up just around the corner from there, and so and that corner has a special place in my heart, and so just can't express how excited I am to see this project move forward.
Well, and I was trying to see if I had a conflict of interest because it doesn't in fact touch my first house. I lived at 1015 Warden, so you could throw a rock at my house from this, but.
Ready? Okay. Hello, friends. Mark from Grand Rapids. I did not know that Earl Scott passed away. My condolences to his wife and their family. We grew up in the Baxter neighborhood, basically down the street from each other. I knew a few years ago when him and his team purchased this building for rehab and everything, that I know he had a vision for it in that neighborhood. And his widow is going to continue that vision, and I'm very happy for it. And 60 to 80% AMI is pretty skeptical to me, but other than that, this development should go on, and I'm very happy that it will. And on behalf of the people who knew Mr. Earl Scott, all this building is, we remember of his vision, and it will be continued for the people who want to live there and the businesses and the upcoming businesses itself, and his legacy will be remembered because of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leverett.
Good evening, Lucas, First Ward resident. I could use an economy of words, but that would be uncharacteristic. But if I did, it would be more, please. Let's do more of this. Imagine this times 100 units. Imagine asking, and you know me, when I say ask, I mean demand, the wealthy developers to meet the marks that this wonderful lady has brought for this beautiful example of a project. More, and more, 80% as the most, lower than 60%. More, and more. And to my fellow denizens of the left, I would like to use this as an example that sometimes some stuff gets right in this room. And this is one of those examples. So keep score, y'all. Be a fair scorekeeper, okay? But this is a beautiful thing. I'm glad to see it. Thank you so much. And everybody already knows I love Peter, so I'm not going to gush about that anymore. But more of this, bigger and more.
Seeing no further public comment?
Mayor, may we speak?
Sure.
I know you want to be done. I just want to share what was maybe alluded to by Ms. Romero, that when we're looking at 60% AMI, we're looking at approximately, this projected project is suggesting an estimated income of $42,000, but it can be up to $60,000 when I've looked at other charts. And this particular project is estimating the rental rate at $941 for a one-bedroom. So that's what we mean when we say 60% AMI. And when we're talking 80% AMI, this project is suggesting $56,000 to $64,000 income. And usually when we say these things, it's a household of 4. So those numbers are flexible. That's why it's so hard to talk about these numbers in real terms, because it depends on how big your family size is. But again, this particular project and why it matters is that you could rent a one bedroom for $1,175 or a 2-bedroom for $1,500 at those income rates. And so when we're talking about emergent developers like this, I really appreciate you being here to share your information and your story and the long journey that it's been, because it is a reinvestment back into the community, and it is an investment that the developer has to make. So thank you. That's what I wanted to share, and thank you, Mayor, for the time.
Thank you. Any other comments? That moves us along to comments from commissioners. So, I'm sorry, public comment. I am sorry. So, any member of the public who wants to come up and talk about any issue they want to talk about can do so now.
How y'all doing? I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. I love basketball. I had to bring my ball this time. But I'm very excited about the stuff I'm doing. Actually, you guys, I passed you guys a document. So this document actually explains what cryptocurrency could do for our city under uncertainties of politics and not relying on the federal government. It explains thoroughly the benefits. It explains other cities that develop coins that have generated millions in revenue for their cities without the support of the federal government. This is a self-sustained ecosystem that explains the blockchain technology. I also have this other document that I gave to Kent County Board. I went to their policy committee, educated them on them, spoke to the state representative that introduced 3 bills that introduced cryptocurrency to our state, gave it to Al Vandenberg, gave it to the county treasurer. I also gave this document to our city treasurer. I also seen him at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential, where somebody actually was speaking about the president's funds and money and how they all spent and how who was good at budgeting and who wasn't good at budgeting. So pretty divine stuff. I also like to thank Fifth Third Bank. I was just doing my Youth Justice Influence Esports League. I'm going to give you these documents after I'm done, City Clerk, but it's only 5. So the people on the board that actually want these, sorry, I gave the other ones out and now this only I have left. But I did print like 50 of them at the local library and then brought them here, so I still have a bunch on hand. But I like to thank our Fifth Third Bank because they actually just did a presentation and educated the kids in the Youth Justice Influence Esports League on budgeting. have some pictures. It was pretty cool to actually get a digital presentation educating kids, because the school to prison pipeline is a real thing, and I'm actually doing stuff educating kids that are actually in the probation and justice system. Nobody's ever done anything like this. I know anybody hasn't. Also, I'd like to thank Steelcase, because they just brought a $523 chair to the kids. So I have a picture on Facebook. If you are friends on Facebook, I'm D Jones 100% every time I'm doing anything. But I actually have a picture of them with the chair. So I would like to thank Steelcase for donating us a chair that's over $500 to kids on probation and surveillance. It's a beautiful chair. It's very expensive. It's luxurious. So I like to thank Steelcase, all of my community partners, the people that believe in my vision, and the cool things that I do for the community, because I'm very charitable. I grew up on Social Security, SSI. I got accepted into Harvard. I'm left-handed. I'm a genius. I know I naturally just got it like that. And if you don't like me, I don't care if you don't like me. I love D, and it's a lot of people that loves D Jones, and there's people across the globe that's gonna love D Jones one day. So I just like to, like I said, positive energy, positive love, all of the cool things that I've done for our community, our city, the citizens, and I look forward to bringing the kids to the Ford Field after we get this done.
Mark back. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for the orange convicted felon. This is what he wants. We're not giving it to him. The governor of Maine laid down the gauntlet. It's time for everybody else to do the same. His ban, his so-called ban of transgender athletes competing in women's sports is a smokescreen. Because one, no one cares. All we care about is the economy, the high inflation, and him doing nothing. Doge is fake. You got an unelected foreigner who wants to take the people's money and has high school kids going to look into your private information, bank accounts, where you work, where you live. He's creating apartheid 2.0 in the United States. It's not good. But we, the people, can remedy this. The Michelle Obama, they go low, we go high, that doesn't work. It's time to think Dan Campbell. When you go in there, you got to bite off a kneecap. Then you got to bite off, and when you start biting off that kneecap, bite off the other kneecap. Then go after the limb, go after the head, go after everything. And in the end, we will be the last one standing. And that happens, and the only way to do that is you mobilize, go out, get people registered to vote right now. Because if things don't change, we are going to suffer. And you don't want that. Because we all know that his administration ain't nothing but a bunch of cartoon carnival fools. That cannot happen for the next 4 years. Boycott Tesla.
Hey, Lucas again, First Ward. Postponed this from last month because there was a much more important topic that deserved more of the mic time, and I didn't want to stand in the lobby for 3 hours. January 11th, a stagehand was killed on a bicycle by a repeat offending drunk driver. It's another awful example of our epidemic of drunken, reckless driving in GR that goes largely unchallenged by traffic enforcement, and it's only going to get worse as the weather warms. I will always encourage more action for bike safety infrastructure, but it would not have saved this man's life in this particular scenario. We will hold you, Mr. Mayor, and others to the campaign promises you've made and professed values you've had in that realm, though. This sad story got my attention for a different reason. This man, Steve, was a member of the IATSE stagehand union that my father worked for my entire life in Nashville. He was using his bike to save money on the high cost of event parking because essential frontline employees in our growing destination city are given little to no consideration for free or reduced cost parking to work their shifts. Now, this was never a problem for me and Dad back in the day in Nash Vegas. No matter what the show, they always carved out a little piece of the loading dock, a little side lot, a little alley for Dad and all the other guys to go to work. I walked in the back of a lot of circuses, saw a lot of animals backstage. We can debate the PETA part later. I've seen a lot of cool backstage stuff, but you all walking in with Dad from those weird parking spaces. But what they always did was they made sure that the crew had a place to park. If a big city like Nashville, in its up-and-coming years, and still to this day can do this, little bitty Grand Rapids can do the same thing as it becomes the next big city. So like I say often, I've seen this movie before, and as our city grows and becomes more of a destination, there's a critical need to lead with guts and demand that the profiteers controlling resources like parking be more considerate and generous and keep options open for these employees. Pass ordinances that require it, and partner with the county to enforce such in the contracts for public-owned venues. It's been so gratifying to see the empathy, openness, and honest perspectives shown by you, Mayor LaGrand, and other leaders in this room regarding some critical challenges and issues right now. I'm really hoping that you'll apply the same to this and take care of the workers who set up, produce, deliver, and reset the stage for the show of this city every night and every day. Thank you.
Hi, hello, my name is Sheldon Skyver, resident of the 2nd Ward. I have actually canvassed and voted for multiple members on this board today, so thank you for that. I know this conversation has pretty much been concluded, but I don't think that the dialogue is over, so I am here to discuss sanctuary policies and the current administration. Currently, Grand Rapids Police Department's foreign nationals policy is a smidge vague, and it allows for a lot of incorporation and working with ICE, and historically, ICE has worked with local law enforcement to treat our friends and neighbors as less than human. I have a copy of this foreign nationals policy. I've studied extensively, and there's not nearly, in my opinion, enough restrictions to keep our friends and neighbors safe from what is actively fear-mongering and an attempt at an autocracy and oligarch takeover. In 2017, the city of Lansing actually enacted an executive order. This is more for David, you specifically, than it is for the board, and I'm sorry for that. But in 2017, Mayor Verg Bernero issued Executive Order 2017-01, solidifying sanctuary policies for the city of Lansing, very clearly dictating exactly how the police department could and could not work with ICE. And I am begging the city to consider that. I know that Section 8 USC 1373 and 1644 are two legal battles that come into play when we talk about sanctuary cities. But the 10th Amendment rights very strongly dictate that anything that the federal government is not governing is governed by the cities and the localities. And in fact, multiple national district courts have found USC 8 to be unconstitutional. That includes in the court case of, I'm so sorry, I have documents here, but that includes multiple court cases, one with Judge Orrick in California and one in Pennsylvania. And I am just asking that the committee consider sanctuary policies, that we do not that we don't respect warrants that aren't judicial warrants because we don't necessarily have to, that detainers, which are a request and not a legal compliance, be something that we do not honor in our system. This county has a history of contracts with ICE. Up until 2019, ICE had a contract where they paid per head per day with our county sheriff's department. They broke that contract due to the community pressure, but I would beg and plead that the members of our committee do what is right, not what is legal, what is morally right. I know that the House GOP is threatening cities. I know this is happening, but these are our neighbors, these are our loved ones, and they are afraid. They are afraid to go to school. They are afraid to go to work. It is all over. And that is just, I'm begging for somebody to do something to help with the situation that we're seeing at hand. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Hello, everybody. Austin McFarland. I'm a resident of Kentwood, but I work in the 3rd Ward at Link Up. I kind of wanted to touch on, last meeting when we talked about, sanctuary cities. My point isn't really around that, but it was around what was kind of going on in the room at the time. There was some people talking and giving their testimony and kind of telling their story, and there was people in the back clapping and wooing at very inappropriate moments. And I feel like going forward, I know that this was one of the first big conversations we're having as a city, but I think going forward it's not the last conversation that we're going to have as a city. And I think when it's situations like that where people are talking about very sensitive topics or things about their lives, like the wooing and the clapping, I think needs to be a little bit more kind of on it a little bit more and kind of holding that accountable, just because it's very intimidating for somebody to then to go up and tell their testimony, tell their story and everything like that when, it can be kind of, and I think that has no place within city politics or city government at all. I personally found it particularly disgusting. I didn't like it, but I think just going forward, just being a little bit more stringent on that would be really appreciated when we have those tough conversations with the city. So yeah, thank you.
Hello, Matthew Scott. I am a resident of Grand Rapids. I'm about to be 30, but my real identity, like my dad, is I am this world is not my home. I am a resident of heaven, and he said, I'm not gonna name him, but Mark said, he said, worry about the day that's gonna happen as a result of Mr. Trump getting elected, but don't worry about that day because we need to wake up because there's a more severe day coming when the Lord is going to exact judgment on his enemies. So if I was you, I would wake up because me and Dad are ready. So I would I would be ready because that day is coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Well said. I'm still Daniel Scott. It's Black History Month, and I would like to acknowledge some of our positive examples, starting with Martin Luther King Jr. again. He once said this, quote, "How can the dream survive if we murder the children? Every aborted baby is like a slave in the womb of his or her mother. The mother decides his or her fate." Unquote. Martin Luther King Jr. Harriet Tubman, Underground Railroad, a devout follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, if you read her story. She was responsible for at least saving 70 African Americans from slavery, bringing them north, even risking her own life, of course. Did you know that Republican, and I'm not a Republican, but this is interesting, Republicans voted to abolish slavery Democrats opposed it. Republicans gave blacks the right to vote. Democrats opposed it. Republicans passed the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Democrats opposed it. The first black Republican was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1871. The first black Democrat wasn't elected to the U.S. Senate until 1999. The first 22 blacks elected to the U.S. House were all Republicans. Martin Luther King Sr. was a Republican. Martin Luther King Jr. was an independent. Our greatest president, Abraham Lincoln, of course, was a Republican. Jim Crow was a Democrat. And the KKK operated as a parliamentary wing of the Democratic Party. Also like to recognize one of our county commissioners. Her name is Monica Sparks. She's a Democrat, but she is an avid pro-life. Alveda Scott King, devout follower of Jesus Christ, outspoken for all people. Senator Tim Scott from Florida, another African American, devout follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. Locally, Leslie King used to be forced into sex slavery along South Division Avenue by her own uncle. She was converted to Christianity, was able to escape that terrible lifestyle that she was forced into, and now she is the founder of Sacred Beginnings, rescuing women and children from that terrible lifestyle. Black History Month.
Hello, my name is Frances Sony, and I'm a senior in high school. I live on the south side of Division, and my mother is an immigrant from Liberia. She came here in 1997. There were many times in the years that we've been living here where I was expected to help with the household income. And one of my first jobs that I was able to obtain was because of the fact that DEI was pushing for inclusivity in the outreach for POCs to be included when scouting for careers. And with our key metrics measured through the governmental excellence key metrics from 2020 or end of 2019 to 2025, or expected to be through mid-2025, is in the red range for being up to 10% below our target range of 40% or less, to ensure that the percentage of new persons hired are people of color. And I guess I just wanted to share my experience and to hope for a listening ear to see if whether or not enough is being done, that we're being included in our outreach because our lives actually depend on it. In the trailer park that I live in, a majority of the children are expected to work towards their household income, most of us giving either 60% or more of what we make to our parents, and then also being expected to provide for ourselves as well alongside them. I don't know if you hear us, but I know that you see us, and I just wanted to make sure that I could speak for us today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to that. That was really beautiful. And also, I just want to recognize a few of you who have really been showing that you've been listening through your eye contact, particularly right here. Commissioner Belchek, you just showed so much dignity to so many people through doing that, so thank you. My name is Amy. I am a senior at Calvin University, and I'm also a social work intern at Grace Church. They say hello, David. And I just want to address a topic that's already been covered a lot by you guys that you care about, just our housing crisis. And you've already had big imaginations and have had a lot of thoughts, and I just thank you for thinking about these people who are struggling. David, you've mentioned garages, and I watched something that was a really neat idea, and it got me thinking, and I imagine you've already thought of all of the ideas. You've made lists in your mind, and I just have a couple extra that are probably already on your list, but I wonder also about the abandoned houses that we have in Grand Rapids and how those could be utilized. It looks like there's already initiatives in that, and that's really encouraging, and I don't know very much, but I'm excited to see that you guys are working in those spaces. What's more is I wonder how we could be supporting the people who are already supporting our unhoused friends. I think about the Well House that are also remodeling places, and Degage and Mel Trotter who are taking care of our people. I also wonder how we could honor our people by maybe increasing the number of public bathrooms that are in the southeast side of Grand Rapids. There's a lot of people who are unhoused, and when you're unhoused, you're often unbathroomed. And that is just a decent human dignity part of our lives that we need. And I got that piece from Miss Ann from Grace Church. So we care, we deeply care. I think, thank you guys for caring. And I see that you're doing a lot, and that change will happen. It does take time, which I recognize. And I want to encourage you in between the thought and the action to make space to listen and to hear the stories of people. You let people come to you, but I wonder how often you go to the people. And David, you say that you want us to live in a community where we actually value everyone's voice equally. So please show us how to do that by listening to these people. Thank you.
Hello, board. My name is Lisa Griffin. I'm in the 3rd Ward, and I am in the Fellows Program with the Link Up. And first of all, Black History. Thanks for calling this a Black History Month, but just to be Black, I don't need a month. Every day is history for me. And so I am a recovering drug alcoholic addict, and 2 years going on 2 years clean and sober, and I'm a born-again Christian. And so given this opportunity, I decided to come up here and speak because I might not be given this opportunity ever again in life. And so May 16th, I was in Burton Heights, and I died from an overdose of fentanyl. And so I was revived, and they gave me Narcan twice, and they revived me. And so here I stand to tell you that I'm really grateful. I'm very, very grateful. I'm grateful for Grand Rapids. I'm grateful for Mark Washington coming down to speak with Link Up today. You know, when you have the stature that you have, the skills, the knowledge that you guys have, you could pick any job pretty much that you want. But to sit in this position and at these jobs, this particular job, in order to listen to the community and want to fight for the community's rights, it takes a heart to do that. And so I just want to thank you for coming down to Link Up, Mark, and for all of you guys taking the position that you take to speak up for us and be a voice for us. And I want to be a voice for anyone that does not have a voice anymore, that has passed on from drug addictions or whatever. I'm grateful to the city of Grand Rapids. You know, I've seen both sides. I've seen a side of plenty, and I've seen a side of none. I've heard Grand Raggedy, and I've heard of this being a great city. And so I've lived both lives, and it's just all in what, you know, you want out of your life. And so if you want to live a good life, no matter who it is, black, white, green, purple, blue, it doesn't make a difference. What color you are, it's the content of your character that Martin Luther King said. It's the content of your character, the integrity of the person, and also of God. You know, when He gives you another chance at life. You know, you take that opportunity and you live it to your fullest. And so I'm just really grateful to be here, and go Link Up.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Brock. I vote in 49548 zip code. But I was born in Grand Rapids at St. Mary's 54 years ago. And I, too, am a person in recovery, celebrated 5 years, not very long ago. And I thank Mark as well for coming to link up tonight. I was there, drilled him a little bit. I didn't kick him off the stage, though. But anyway, I just want to talk to you guys tonight. I attended a couple Zoom meetings today from the National Low Income Housing Commission, and they were talking about how many cuts will be done to their organizations, and up to 84% of some of their funds will affect homelessness. And I was asking Mark about funds, federal funds that would affect things in this city, and he was saying that some might affect funds regarding housing. And I said, what is your backup plan in this city for things regarding HUD? And he said, well, we're going to cross that bridge kind of when we come to that. And I said, but all these grand plans in Grand Rapids are going up as scheduled. But yet housing, we're going to cross that bridge when we come to it. But homelessness is on the rise. And organizations like HUD were literally begging us to take direct action with our politicians. So I'm here taking direct action tonight. And I'm going to write to you probably too, and to my state reps and to my federal reps. And I'm going to be in picket lines and protests like I do because I'm an activist along with being a retail worker. And I'm going to say, you know, what are we doing for our least of these? Okay? And so we're doing a lot for the most of these in this city. We're doing lots for the most of these. But what are we going to do, and what's our backup plan? So I suggest we probably come up with one pretty quick, because the cuts are coming pretty quick. And literally 50% of HUD workers are going to be cut. And that's looking like it's going to be a reality. So I hope that we all put our heads together for the least of these, because they're only going to be on the increase. We can pass a law real fast about locking someone up for loitering. So we better come up with a plan real fast about how we're going to help them with housing when it's going to be only on the increase. So I'm just here tonight to beg you that we come up with a plan for the least of these. They're saying shelters might close, all kinds of stuff. I saw a man the other day drag a tarp into the woods. He smelled horrid, like he hadn't showered for weeks. And he was a human being. I called Granville Police, and they said, if you want us to get him for loitering or for trespassing, we will. But there's nothing we can do to help him get to a shelter. There's nothing in this city, or in this suburb for that. That's too bad. We can only get someone for a crime for being poor. Thank you.
Seeing no further public comment, we'll move on to comments from commissioners. Commissioner Knight wants to go first.
Well, it's been a very long and interesting day today. I thank you all for coming out. Yep, Black History Month, but Black History is every single day. So I'm grateful that I'm here and that we're able to celebrate, and grateful for those who come out to speak about Black history. I'm just going to ask that when you talk about Black history, know all of the history and not just pieces of it, so that we are all well educated on the facts and not just fiction. I'm thankful for Dr. Washington bringing her group here to the city to be a little educated on what goes on here at the city and how we work here and what we do, and how you all can step back and think about what your future is going to look like, because we are 35 days in, y'all. 35. I just want you to mark that on your wall, 35. And so for all the things that we are looking at dealing with in the future and to come, just to understand that we don't know what tomorrow holds, right? That's a scripture in the Bible that somebody should have quoted today. We don't know what tomorrow is going to hold, but what we can do is be kind to one another and gracious, and help to lift up one another and do what we can individually, because we don't know. And I know as we continue to embark on what the city is going to do to try to put together our budget, it's a little difficult to do when you don't know, right? It's a little bit of guesswork, but I believe that all the organizations and the people in this community are trying to band together to figure out what step A or plan B and plan C are, because we don't know. So I would ask you all to step back and see what you can do to add to helping to support what's going on in our communities, supporting your neighbors, talking to your neighbors, finding out what's going on in your neighborhood and those that you come in contact with, and think about what we can do to support one another. I know there's a number of things and initiatives that are going on. If you've not been watching social media, I would suggest that you check in and see what's going on and how we are supporting one another and taking care of each other as consumers in our community, and showing the world and the country who we are and the power that we have as individuals collectively. I'm grateful that here at the city that we're trying to do things to make sure that the needs are met of our community members, but I know that the city is only a small piece of the puzzle. So thank you all for your time and your energy today, and looking forward to tomorrow, waking up and seeing what we can do better. 35 days, y'all.
Commissioner Perdue?
Good evening, everyone. So great to see and hear from so many of you tonight, and hearing your personal stories and your testimonies. I think it was Lefa or Latifa. I'm glad you're here. Amy, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad all of you are here. The Link team, the fellows, the students. It's a beautiful sight to see. Francis, thank you all. Just as we wrap up today, thinking about where tonight's meeting started in terms of that first public hearing and supporting our small developers in the city to revitalize our neighborhoods, to build wealth for themselves and their families, to continue legacy. I'm so proud of that, and someone said more of that, and I say absolutely. And so we've been working really hard behind the scenes to really push and gain consensus on how we might better prioritize economic development in our city's neighborhoods and our smaller and newer developers. And so that's going to look a lot of different ways, everything from education and access to incentives. So it's not just the big downtown projects, as many of you mentioned, that are taking advantage of that, but it's our neighbors and the folks who live on either side of us who own property in our neighborhood as well. So I'm really excited about that. So more to come on that, and more to come. I think we've had a lot of really exciting things happen this month. I have been hosting regular online briefings, 30 minutes in and out. Follow me on social at Purdue for You and sign up for my newsletter, because I'll be sending out the next invitation soon. I'll be sharing some updates on what we are doing around newer developers, as well as some of our housing wins this month, some of our engagement wins this month, and then some things that you should be paying attention to here at the city level that we have direct influence over. So I hope to see you there to kind of continue the dialogue and the conversation outside of this forum. So thank you.
Commissioner Belcheck.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. It has been a long, robust day for us. We've actually had the mid-year review presentation begin today, and I really want to give a shout out to our young people who are here today, and to, was it Francis, who told her story. Thank you for being here and for noting the metrics that we are using and the housing and the minority businesses that we're trying to grow and where we're falling short, where we're doing well, and I really appreciate that. But that is part of the discussion that was going on today, and we will be continuing that. It is part of getting ready for deciding where the dollars will go and looking at the budget that will be presented to us from the city manager. So I echo the sentiments of my fellow commissioners who've spoken so far, in that we are really paying attention, and I am really listening. Thank you for noticing. I want us to really remember that we are GR, and I know I've said that before, and I will not stop saying it, because this moment calls us to all step up into action, and that might look like making phone calls to legislators. That might look like forming a neighborhood watch or getting to know your neighbors. It might look like tapping into your commissioner and the outreach that they are doing. And I believe every last one of us up here are doing something. So I appreciate
what Kelsey or our Commissioner Perdue is doing, and just know that there is lots going on in the city, and you can connect through what our communication department is doing with the rapid connect, the rapid recap, the Commissioner Connect. There's newsletters for almost every department. There are social media to follow, but we have to build from the ground up and from the neighborhood up. So thank you for being here, and continue to reach out and tell your stories. We all need to hear them. So that's all I have for now.
Commissioner Kilgore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you everyone so much for joining us today. I'd like to echo my fellow Third Ward Commissioner's sentiments on the projects like 1032 MLK that really help us chip away at the housing crisis. So Commissioner Perdue and I are working together with city staff, legislators, business owners, and leaders to develop what I consider a playbook for what resources are available. Education and awareness are very important. We are going to continue to assess and become more familiar with what barriers are present for economic development in the Third Ward. I look forward to supporting more of these projects in the near future. And as folks have expressed, there's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety right now, which I understand, and I do want to hear from folks, neighbors all throughout our city, on what concerns them and what's top of mind for them and what matters most to them, and new ideas. So in honor of Black History Month, I'm having my first listening tour at the Main Attraction Salon on 28th Street this Friday, so that's February 28th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that's Black History because so many of us up here know that really good political conversations and community conversations happen while you're getting your hair done. So please join me and have a good evening.
Nope, have a good night.
Commissioner Sassi?
Thank you. So I'm just going to continue on the theme of Black History Month because I think there's moments of joy that we have to capture. And, as we were walking in today, Commissioner Knight was like, every day is Black History Month. So sure was reminding us of that. But I want to just recognize my colleagues up here, many of you who are the first or the second and sometimes the only. And so I just want to say thank you, because being the first and the second and the only is never easy. And this is in as we look at the seal of 1850, it's hard to believe that many of you are sitting in those seats. But I just want to recognize your contributions here in the dais during Black History Month. Secondly, I just wanted to continue to highlight a number of the things that we discussed at our mid-year review. Today we were able to meet with a couple of constituents, and I think that we are seeing more people wanting to come and connect on the city level because what's happening on the federal level seems kind of unbelievable, quite honestly. At least I feel like I could say that for myself, just in my day job, being unsure if there's going to be funding to continue work that should be seen as a value add, supporting small businesses, but knowing that different groups like our COC, which I know Ms. Behrens and City Manager, you're part of, and Commissioner Knight, I know you're part of that, where we're hearing stories that some entities are going into, what's called like grant solutions or, federal government pieces and finding that they're not able to pull down their federal dollars. That is very concerning. And so while, I'm glad that we're going to, continue to sort of push upon that, I would also say continue to connect with your federal leaders, because they're the ones who, I think are working and hopefully trying to connect to understand that these things are probably going to have to be resolved in our court systems, which are not going to be resolved in the next day, which is very unfortunate. And so I think about the history and the impact of lots of nonprofits in this community that are, and quite honestly, many of us are worried if we're going to have jobs, in the next 6 months. And so I just want to put that out there, that I know while many of those entities are not city driven, that we are absolutely part of those conversation and understanding, what are the things that we can do. But I do think they will probably have to be handled in a legal fashion. So then I think about, okay, what's in this world today? what is in front of different organizations, what are their realities and experience, and certainly you heard, if you tuned in for our committee of the whole, what does that look like as we go into our budgetary process? That budgetary process typically starts in November and December. We'll have the first of those kickoffs in March. But the things that I'm hearing on the local level are our small businesses who are really asking us to help them during continued unprecedented times. Sort of the thought was if you made it through COVID, that was great. But what was going to happen after COVID? And I think we're facing all of those pieces, those uncertainties. That business owners have. And so I've talked to at least today 2 business owners who are asking us to kind of take that same point of view that we had during COVID to think about things right now, especially we know we're going to have this construction season. So it's not that it's bad, but we have to recognize what is the impact of these, much needed infrastructure pieces. So thank you, Mr. Canfield and Ms. Behrens for talking through that a little bit today, and I know that will be a continued topic of discussion. And then, I think just the reality as we think about, while I no longer serve on public safety is a very important issue, I think, to many of us on this body. Certainly is one. We hear a number of things from commissioners, but just want to recognize that, in the number of days of this year, we're in the early part of this year, that we have had victims of homicides, and they have been because of domestic violence situations. And that can be defined not necessarily only as an intimate partner violence, but that is going to, I think, for me, will continue to be an area that I want to focus on as it relates to rethinking public safety. What is a public safety system that is both accessible and responsive? And I really appreciate our chief of police and others who recognize that safety occurs in many different ways. So, recognizing that. And then just lastly, it was great on our Community Development Commission to have our top, or not our top, but the number one resolution that we had, the first one for today was around the solar array piece at Butterworth. This has been a long road. I see the executive leaders shaking their heads because, how do you take this space that is a super fun site and try to turn it into a space that will generate much needed energy. And so kind of getting to that design piece is, I hope my past colleagues are watching or recognizing that to get to this next space is definitely a bright spot in a lot of things that are going on. So have a good evening.
City Clerk.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you to Deputy Clerk Smith for covering me over the last couple meetings. I took some little R&R there post-inaugural, and then I was at a conference in San Diego for the Partnership for Large Election Jurisdictions, talking about upcoming things with the SAVE Act and various other things with cybersecurity and various other things, talking about how to protect elections in the future. So I'll spend some time with that. There's going to be a special election coming up May 6th, only for voters who live within Kentwood Public Schools and Forest Hills Public Schools. So about 4,700 voters in the city of Grand Rapids will be voting in the May 6th election. All those precincts will be consolidated into one precinct at Our Savior Lutheran Church. So that will be happening on May 6th. Absentee applications will be going out for those voters shortly. And then we'll also, notices will go out to those voters who vote at other precincts to tell them that they will be consolidated to the one precinct. So it's one precinct in the second ward and 6 precincts in the third ward that will be affected. And and both of them have the same proposal. It's the 18 mil non-homestead renewal. Also, the Election Commission met on Friday, and we changed a few of the boundaries for precincts, and so more information will be coming out of that. We're not making that effective until May 7 after that election is over. So there'll be a lot of communications coming out on what that looks like. Pretty much every voter in the city of Grand Rapids will be getting a new voter information card because with changing boundary lines, then we change also precinct numbers. So we'll be doing some information out on that, and then be looking probably sometime this summer for a new voter information card, which will give you your precinct location, where you vote, and in your districts.
Thanks. City Attorney? City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your work today. Real briefly, I want to first thank the staff for all the work that went into preparing for the day, and to continue to thank the staff that's on the front line delivering services. I did have a chance to go to the community celebration this past Sunday at Ottawa Hills for the Black History Celebration. Very well done. I want to thank everyone for that very thought-provoking and inspiring program, and it was good to see those of you who were at the Lincoln Lincoln community meeting today, as well as West Grand last week. I do want to encourage the public to go back, if you have time, to revisit the briefing at the Committee of the Whole, to be informed about your local government and all the things that are being done from various departments and partners. And I remain very concerned about the continuity of local government services in light of federal uncertainty. And we highlighted today our pending applications of $48 million of federal funding. And, we were able to make it through the pandemic because the federal government offered a lot of stimulus spending, federal and state government. We had over $100 million. So the federal government was part of the solution. So it's concerning when the problem is federal funding. And so this budget period will be one of the most confidence that we collectively, both community staff as well as City Commission, will be able to do what's in the best interest of Grand Rapids. And so I'm hoping that by the time the budget's proposed, that there'll be a little bit more clarity and certainty around some of the federal funding. And lastly, we were so comprehensive this morning, we did not brief on two important matters. I do want to thank those departments that prepared for the briefings. One was on mobility, the other was on safety. And because the public safety agenda today was very compact, we were unable to provide those briefings then. So we'll look forward to a future time to brief the City Commission on the balance of those topics prior to the budget presentation.
Thank you. So thank you all for coming out. I think it's worth pointing out that part of what's going on right now in the country is fear being whipped up for fear's sake. And it's worth remembering that there are things that we can do together, and that I am confident that our city is not going to fall apart, and that we do not have to knuckle under to moral challenges to who we are and what we value for money. And as much as those sort of threats and levers are being thrown around on the national and the state level, and as frankly tragic as that is, I will tell you that government is the business of making moral choices, and we're not going to change our moral priorities based on threats. I will also say that we've got to continue to think about how to make this city better in all the ways that we've thought about it in the past. And so we can't let upheaval and national drama stop us doing the long, persistent, careful work that we need to do on big issues. And because those are long, persistent issues, and because some of that involves rebuilding and doing better on our habits of democracy, I do hope that you all out there in TV land, and those of you who came tonight, can come to and start engaging in our Mayor's Mondays conversations. It's always awkward to have people come up and say heartfelt things at the microphone and be able to do nothing except not comment. Mayor's Mondays, we're allowed to have conversations. And so our first month, we talked about housing. This last month, we wrapped up talking about justice and policing issues. We're about to move into a geekier and messier issue maybe, and that's infrastructure, neighborhood development, and renewable energy conversations next month. And then we're going to go back to housing the following month, and we're going to go back to justice and policing, and we're going to keep having these conversations because I don't intend those conversations to ever end. So there's a website. It's Mayor's Mondays and mayorsmondays.com, and you can find out where the next meetings are going to be and what they're going to be about. And I will remind you, it is so important at this moment that all of us engage in practices of care, particularly in our public conversations. So I do want to thank you all for being careful and gracious in your comments this evening. And I'm always encouraged by seeing a community that's willing to figure out how to get better tomorrow without focusing on imperfections of the past. We can all do better tomorrow. We all have to figure out how to do better tomorrow. And most importantly, we have to figure out how to take care of each other better tomorrow. So thank you all. Take care of each other. Good night.